welcome back. Today we're going to be tying a FAB with a wee bit of a difference. So this is going to have a wee touch of Marabou coming out the back side of it, and we'll get started on that. So the hook I've got in the vise is a size 10 blob hook. It's got a real nice wide gape on it, but quite a short shank. That's from Blob and Buzzer. I'm going to be using some 8.0 uni, and that's fire orange. You're going to need a Chartreuse. You can do it in white foam block, and that's pre-drilled to 5mm. You're going to need some fire orange Marabou, and in this case I'm using a kind of chartreusey colour Fritz. Now this is like a gel core Fritz, and it's only sided on one side just for a nice shape. That's from Blob and Buzzer. Right, so I'm going to start off by putting a little layer of fire orange down, keeping it neat, touching turns, and you want to stop this just before it starts to bend. You don't want a big body on this. And then I'm going to pop my fire orange Marabou. Now for this, the length of this sort of clump of Marabou you'd normally take, you don't want a lot. Okay, so you'll see there I've got a tiny wee bit of Marabou, and all I'm going to do is just come in and trim it down and then pick away the fluff like I've done before. So all I've done is I've picked away at the fluff and trimmed it straight. I'm just going to lay it on the top and tie in, and come back to your point where you've already wrapped your thread turns to, and then work your way forward, and that'll secure that in there. Now you can trim this down at the end, the Marabou, however I prefer doing it just now. It's a bit of annoyance when you've got the foam in the back to trim it. So what you're looking lengthwise is you're not looking for much at all. You're maybe looking at 1 centimetre to 1.5 centimetres max. Okay, and you just put your fingers down and pull it. So depending on if you want this to be a comp legal fly, you really need to be trimming down to fit in the gauge. So there we go, just about 1 centimetre. Marabou when wet will sit further out. The next step I'm going to do is take my Chartreuse 5mm foam cylinder, and I'm going to take a pair of sharp scissors, and I'm going to cut straight down the middle, maybe about 2 centimetres down. Take your time with this and make sure you go straight down. So you see there, the aim of the game is to try and get two, just put that there so you can see it in focus, try and get two down, so that it'll split over the hook. You're then going to place this on. Now when you place this, you can wet the Marabou as well, just to keep that out of the way. Right, when you place this on, you're not going to come any further past the bend of the hook. I just thought there, I need to take my thread up to where I want to tie it in, because your first wraps are going to be right over where you're tying that in. Okay, so I'm then going to push over, and like I say, you don't want this to become any further back than the bend of the hook, and I'm just going to take this in my left hand and then straight over, loose turn and tighten up, just to hold it in place. Now's the time to move it if you need to. Then I'm going to take my foam, and I'm just going to cut that in there, and what you'll see, hopefully you've cut far enough up that this should just sit along the shank of the hook. Okay, and then that'll splay out the back. Then I'm going to come in, keep my left hand where it is, and I'm just going to tidy up the rest of it here, just to tie it down to the shank, being careful not to twist the foam, because the foam will twist if you pull it too hard. The idea is just to catch it all in. There we go, just so it's going nowhere. There we go, and make sure again it's all sitting nice. You'll see that effect there I've got at the back. You're then going to take your Fritz. Now this is 15mm Fritz, I'm just going to pop that on as you would do when you tie in a normal blob, right to the back end of the foam, and then come back down. Now with this stuff, because it's only one-sided, if you wet it you get a really nice effect. And you're just going to wrap up the hook, pull them back, stroke and wrap every single time. So again, keeping it tight, hold it down, and then pull back, stroke and wrap, and the more you do this, the better effect you'll have on the body. Stroke and wrap. Stroke and wrap. So the idea of this fly is that when you're fishing a blob with like maybe 2 buzzers, this will sit higher up in the water column rather than sink, and you'll have more of a straight line effect from where your the end of your fly line is to where your point fly is. So almost, basically they call it the washing line effect. You can fish it on a floating line, you can fish it on a sinking line, an intermediate line, or you can fish it on a really deep dive 6 or 7 along the bottom, and this will just keep it off the bottom and pick any fish feeding just off the bottom. So when I get to the top here, I'm going to come in 1, 2, 3 just to secure it, so 3 wraps just to secure it. And we're going to hold all this back. So the way I do this is a wee bit different to other people. So I lick my fingers and I just get it to a point where I've got all my fibres coming rear of the head, and then just put a couple of wraps in to secure once you get it there, and then keep binding on it really tightly, and then build your head. Completely forgetting about tidying up the waist piece at the minute. Just build up a little head and then come in and whip finish. Again, holding all that back. 4, 5 in that. Just pull it slightly. Using sharp scissors, and then hold this up, tuck your scissors right in. Now you can use scissors or you can use a Stanley knife. Some people like to use a Stanley knife because they don't like the scissors getting, but I just prefer using scissors. And that is basically it finished. You just got to put a wee dab of varnish on there. Again, I'll put Sally Hansen's on there. Hold it all back. Dab on the front. Just, if you go over the eye, don't worry about it. Just make sure you've got a waste piece of wire or a feather stem, and just poke it through just to hide it. So just like that, just to make it clean. And that is your blob. What I'll do is I'll show you that once it's been wet and the effect it has on it. Okay, thank you for watching.